Yeah, I thought it would make sense to start this off by everyone in turn kind of going through and spending a few minutes explaining how the situation has impacted your business and how you've sought to deal with the challenges of logistics and markets kind of collapsing, and just and things seem to have settled to some sort of stability at least now, or certainly the chaos of the initial situation is over. But I'd just like you each in turn to kind of take us through how that impacted you, and then how you've sought to deal with it. And maybe we could start on the upstream side with Harold and Daniel. So alphabetically, maybe Harold, you could kick things off.
Thank you for that, Tom. Well, it's been challenging times for sure. It's we're used in a way with the changes in the salmon industry. It's mostly a fresh business, but this has been like the salmon market on speed. Everything's happening at the same time. The normal changes that we see every week is all happening at the same time. So we have to be agile on the sales, but these times we have been facing challenges. Not if I'm going to start somewhere, I will start with the logistics. First of all, with the passenger flights stopping to the Asian market, and a lot of the fish is actually transported by passenger flights. I'm not sure everyone is aware of that. So that gave us a huge challenge, basically starting out with placing where to place the big fish. So it was China closing down first, then we had the US market, and at that point the Italian market was open. But as US and Italy were hit by the coronavirus as well, we started to see some challenges on the big fish as a starting point. So the biggest problem has been on the big fish. Now that China's opened up, like Thomas was showing, it's a lot of export, at least from Norway. But keep in mind that the Chilean industry has not been able to compete basically on price into the Chinese market. And that is one of the effects that we have seen as well. It's for the first time in probably 5 or 6 years, we see that there's a discount on the big fish. So that has been a challenge. Logistics in Europe, it started out with mostly uncertainties on the border controls and all that, but that has worked out. For us, the biggest challenge has been out of Chile, and I'm sure BLUMAR'S is going to explain a bit more about that. But the freight capacity to the US market has been challenging. Not only to have the capacity, but also the prices increasing enormously on flying the fish to the market, and prices falling. On the production side, and it's probably everyone is aware of these days with what we see in the meat processing industry, we have had a focus on keeping the business up and running. In Norway, it's not such a big problem, which where much of our processing is automated, and we opened up a new processing plant just 1 year ago. But for our Chilean operation, that has been a huge challenge. And even today, we're not fully utilizing our capacity, basically because of the social distancing. So it's we've been working on the whole value chain just to make sure that our business is up and running. And also our role in society by being a food provider, the importance of that. And on the good side, I have to say that our own people and also our local community is now more, let's say, aware of the fact that we play an important role in the society. So that is basically the short version of all the challenges we see. Obviously, being a global player, we could learn from what happened in China, and then moving to Europe, and then seeing that happen in the US, and then at last in Latin America. So we can take the learning as the pandemic was going through the world. So it's definitely been a challenging time.
Yeah. Thanks very much, Harold. Well, yeah, that leads nicely into you, Daniel. If you could give a sort of specific view of this.
Yeah, Tom, as Harold mentioned, we have been facing different challenges here in Chile as well. I would say the farms are operating close to normal. I mean, it's a little bit more difficult to bring people in and out of the farms, but all the rest of the chain has been impacted by this crisis. I would say the big challenge has been in the limitations and disruptions we've had in our harvesting and processing operations. We saw the volume come down probably 40-50% during some weeks, end of March and the first half of April. We had to reduce the number of people. You know, we operate plants here with 200 to 300 people per shift in the same building, so that really puts a big challenge in these times. So we had to invest in infrastructure, in protocols, in health control, to be able to have our workers working safe in our facilities. Now the volume has been coming back to not 100%, but I would say 80 to 90% to what it should be. Logistics, for us to fly the fish to the U.S. mainly, there was a big shift from passenger flights to cargo flights. We normally fly about 50% of the volume in cargo flights anyway, so we had an increase of these operations, but at a cost. I mean, they took a big chunk of our margin with a freight rate increase over 30%. So, and then of course the negative demand shock from the food service segment. We haven't really been able to shift that volume to the retail, and well, we don't know how long it will take for the food service to recover. We're starting to see some signs of some distributors moving fish again after several weeks of zero orders. And of course, all this brings us to the declining prices, 20 to 30% in most of our markets. So I think the biggest challenge was to bring our operation back to a more normal level in terms of volumes. It's really a big stress when the fish is ready and you cannot harvest. So we still see lots of difficulties ahead of us, and we're making decisions every week based on the current situation.
Actually, I'm interested in exploring a little bit more what was mentioned by Arild, and in particular about the larger fish being now cheaper than the smaller fish. From a processing point of view, have you been able to take advantage of that and purchase the larger fish and find ways to process it, or have you not done that?
We have actually bought, larger fish for processing, and when the price of that came down, it became interesting. There are some benefits. There are some issues when it comes to the yield, but when the price is right, this is also working fine in our products.
Damien, actually, on the issue of the big fish, how did you find selling those volumes? Were you able to, or did you just sort of shift what you were selling into the market?
No, because it was mostly based on our food service sales, we've really reduced the amount of larger fish that we're able to purchase every week. But that being said, we're starting to see signs of food service starting to start again. And we have just like Thomas's view, we're very optimistic on the future. We're starting to see food service starting to move, and we think, the US restaurant industry is resilient. They're ready to get back to work. And we think that the American consumers are going to play their part as well to support their local restaurants and going to eat out as the restrictions starts to loosen up. So we're positive that this should happen. And in our view, talking to our food service partners, we think that we'll be back at around 50% of the volumes that we sell on salmon by June, and about 75% by October going into the fourth quarter.
Back to more on the production side. I was interested in getting some comments from Harold and Daniel about are farmers going to look to produce smaller sized fish now? Is there going to be a lower production of the bigger sized fish, or are you seeing the kind of Chinese market? The balance has to be that market's recovering somewhat, and that the larger fish will then start to go out to that market and maybe the US market, and then increase in price. How long do you think this price kind of it's almost contradictory price relationship where something larger is cheaper will continue for?
Well, maybe I can start on then, and Daniel afterwards. Well, first of all, the market is changing all the time. So it's very dynamic, and 1 week you got a discount, the next week you probably have a premium, and this week we're seeing a premium and getting premium paid in the European market. But unfortunately, I have to say, working on the commercial side, that it's the production guys that is the key to the profitability of the company. So basically, the utilizing the license is key on the profitability of the company. So I don't see the production being too much adjusted to the current market situation, at least not short term. Given that it's a 3-year production cycle to produce the fish. So I don't see that kind of effect. You might keep the fish a bit longer in the water, short in the water. But with the fluctuations you see from week to week, it's very hard to plan this. And it costs more money to keep the fish longer in the sea as well. And you might run into biological challenges. So optimizing the production is, unfortunately, from a market perspective, the most profitable for a farmer.
Yes, I agree with Harold. It's production driven. I mean, it's not easy to change the average size of the harvest. It's you could eventually look in the long run and adapt your farming cycles, but it's really I don't think we can move that according to the market. We'll probably have to take a lower price for the big size fish for a certain period, and I don't think it's going to be long term. So at this stage, I don't see the farming companies moving their production model to what the market is showing right now.